Hi, welcome to A4H Financial Coaching. This is Jordan Mitchell, your financial coach. This is week 2 of our video series. So, for those who saw the week 1, congrats, you're back. Thank you. If you didn't, go back and check it out. I try to keep it to 10 minutes, and this one we should be able to do, although I've said that a lot as a teacher or as a former teacher, and usually I can't. So, let's begin. Last week we talked about the why. Why did I leave teaching and being an administrator behind to pursue this dream of financial coaching, and what I'm really looking forward to helping people win with their finances. But I think a question that comes up is when? Like, when do I need a financial coach? So I'm a big storyteller. You'll find that out throughout all these videos. So we're going to go back to when I was 23. I had just got married. My wife and I had graduated college. I think I was graduated in May, got married in June. And then we moved down to Clarkston so I could start at Everest Academy. And one of the coolest things that we did at Everest is we had a staff versus varsity basketball game. Now, a lot of our staff, we had some good ballers, and we were all still pretty young, except for a few of them, Rich. Sorry to do that, but a lot of us were in our early 20s. We had just graduated college, and we could still hoop, and we had some wonderful games. But I remember after that first game, I think the students won. I think they won the first 2, but then we won the next 3. I was so close to being able to dunk when I was in high school. I was 4 or 5 inches away. I'm 6'2", I'm lanky, so that helps. But I was always about 4 or 5 inches. I have tiny hands, so I can't grab a basketball like you should to be able to dunk. So I kind of have to go 2 hands, and it's just harder. But anyways, I'm 4 or 5 inches away. And I remember at the end of that game being like, you know what? I am going to work my butt off for the next year, and I'm going to come back and I am going to rip this dunk down in the middle of this game, and have all my students go crazy and the crowd go crazy, and that was my mindset. And then the next year came, and I had worked 0% on jumping, and at the end of that game I was like, you know what, this is going to be the year. This is going to be the year that I get in shape a little bit better and practice those jumping skills. Okay, let's fast forward. You can imagine how the rest of the story goes. We got to the point where playing in that game actually started to hurt. And by the end of that game, it was taking a few weeks to recover because I just wasn't an 18-year-old anymore, or 19-year-old, or even a 23-year-old. I was in later 20s, so it just wasn't going to work out. And to this day, I have never dunked a basketball in a game. And I asked myself, I kind of look back at that and say, what would it really have taken? What would it really have taken to gain 4 more inches of vertical? Could I have done it? I could have. Now I'm not so sure. But back then I could have. But what did I need? I needed someone to motivate me. I had the motivation to want it, but I didn't have any knowledge of how to go do it. I didn't have the drive to look at myself and say, you know what? I want to do something. I want to be better at something, and I'm going to need someone to help me. Had I went and got a personal trainer and said, hey, my goal in the next 365 days is to put 5 inches on my vertical so that I can dunk a basketball. I know there's somebody who could do that. There's got to be. Because there are people who can jump way higher than me. There are people that are in way better shape than I am. And they eat better. I could have done it. And I chose to try to go it myself. And obviously I have never dunked. Now I'm 35. My vertical is much less than it was. It would take a couple of miracles to get me to be dunking basketball, but never say never. So don't be ashamed or afraid or say like, oh, I can't believe I can't do this on my own. There's lots of things I can't do on my own, and that's why we have coaches. That's why there are people who can do it that can help us along. And if you're saying to yourself right now, you're watching this video, you're like, oh, I can get my finances in order. No problem. Well, then go do it. Like, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? If you can do it on your own, there's tons of budgeting apps. The one I recommend is the Every Dollar app by Dave Ramsey. Go get Every Dollar app, set your budget, stick to it, and in a month, you're going to be a much happier person. You're going to have a lot more money than you thought, and you're going to have control of your spending, and you're going to be on your way to getting out of debt if you have any. So go do it. But it's easier to say I'm going to go do something than to actually go do it. And that's where the financial coach comes in. Because I'm going to make you do it. And not because I just enjoy watching people suffer through things. I don't want you to suffer through it. Yeah, this budgeting process, My wife and I, when we started using the every dollar budget, it took us 10 minutes to set up our first budget, and that'll be for August. We had a system that we had used and it just wasn't being effective, so we switched this one, and I'm gonna let you know how August budget goes. So let's get to the question, like, when do you want or need financial coaching? Okay, number one need is if you are in any kind of debt, okay, other than mortgage debt, right, other than you own a house. If you are in credit card debt, if you are in student loan debt, if you have medical debt, it does not matter. You need help getting out of it. And because if you don't, you know what interest does, right? Credit card interest is compounded daily, and they wait for you at the end of the month just to throw it on there as soon as you haven't paid it off. And if you don't pay off your entire balance of a credit card, they're gonna knock all that interest right onto it, and now you're even farther away from your goals. Okay, so right now, what's stopping you? Right? Well, I mean, you might need somebody in your corner, and that's, again, where a financial coach is. So if you have debt, this is the time to get a financial coach. And you might be saying, well, if I'm in debt, if I'm broke, if I have no money, how can I pay for a financial coach? The average American has more purchases than they know what to do with in a month. What would it cost to get financial peace? Well, I'm going to tell you this. The very first month that you have me as your financial coach, it's going to cost you $98. $98. That's it for the first month. And I'm going to work with you. We're going to get on that budget. We're going to talk about your other goals, and we're going to set you on that path. You know, in business, we talk about a return on investment, right? An ROI. If someone is saying to you, hey, for this first month that you can start getting out of debt for $98, I don't think you're going to get a better return on investment. You just won't. Okay. Now, I know not all of you are in like financial distress, and that's good. But what other times might you need a financial coach? Well, kind of think of all the major times of life. For example, you got your first job, right? Getting a paycheck is wonderful until you see the taxes they take out of it. But it's really wonderful because you've worked and someone's paid you for that work. And then for the first time in your life, you've got money coming in. Well, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to go blow through it in 3 days because you're like, I have money? Or are you going to start setting things aside for a purchase like a car, or start saving up for college? So that might be a good time to get in for financial coaching. Going to college, right? There's a lot of ways to spend money at college. And if you don't have the money, people put it on credit cards, and then that credit card debt, it just keeps going up. And by the time you're out of college, you don't want to be in student loan debt and credit card debt and have no clue how to budget money, right? So typically you have less money coming in because you're going to school as a student, spending a lot of your time doing that. But that could be a great time. Also, graduating college. Now you kind of gone from those beginner jobs to hopefully you're the start of your career, and hopefully you're making more money. We have to have a plan. You have to have a plan for where all that money is going to go. And if you do, great. And if you don't, a financial coach can help you to get there. And if I'll put it like this. I would have done my finances between myself and my wife and I differently, a lot differently over the last 12 years we've been married, and 17 years that I've been getting a paycheck. I would have done it a lot differently, and I'd probably be a lot farther ahead in my financial goals than I am. But that's okay because it's never too late to start. Getting married, a lot of my students or old students now are kind of hitting those early 20s, and they're starting to get married. The two become one, including finances, and that's a new crazy thing when you have two people bringing money in. You're like, wow, we have a lot of money. And what better way to use that money to hit your financial goals and to get started in retirement? If you start saving for retirement at age 23, if you can average a 6 to 7% return per year, and you're put $300 a month away, you're looking at between $1 and $2 million retirement. Okay, $300 a month. People have cable bills that are $300 a month. If you could put $300 a month away and get 5 to 6%, by the time you retire, you're going to be looking, at $1 to $2 million, and that's just $300. I mean, if hopefully near the end, you don't have other financial obligations, and voila, you're putting away a lot more. But it's important to start early. Okay, so marriage. Unfortunately, sometimes that marriage ends. So if you are going through a divorce, it's a good time to get a financial coach, because now you're going from two incomes possibly to one. And depending on if you have kids or not, that could be a really new situation for a lot of people. And it just helps to have somebody in your corner that's willing to walk with you. Okay. And then also, with your marriage, when you have kids, I have 6, they're expensive. All I'm saying, I was passing the gas station and went up to $3.80. Gas was like $3.30 a couple weeks ago. Now it's $3.80, and now that van that I'm going to cart them around in, my 15-passenger van, just went up $15 to fill. And if it's going up to $3.80, why not go up to $4? And it's just going to get more expensive. So if I can be well planned out with my money and make every dollar count, you're going to be in a much better place. And that's the budgeting, but that budget is how you're going to hit those other goals too. So, lastly, let's say you're gearing up for retirement. You're at you're at the end of working, right? But just having someone go over that process with you, because once you go into retirement and you're not bringing in an actual income, right? You're just living off of your investments. That's a whole nother ballgame, because depending on how much you're trying to take out of those investments, that can really affect the return of how much you're getting returned on those. So there's a lot of times that you could start it, and I went over the 10 minutes, and it happens. It happens every time. So, anyways, I'll just leave you with 3 questions. And this is when I go up to somebody who I've never talked to before, and I ask them about their finances, which is not something I would have done 3 months ago. So it's something new to me. But I go up to them and I ask, number 1, can I ask you about your finances? And they say, sure. Most people say yes, which is nice. So the first question after the main question is, after getting permission to say it, is, how would you rate your finances 1 to 10? Okay. Now you're going to, right now in your head, you're going to say a number. Okay. If that number isn't 10, then you could benefit from a financial coach. Even if it's 9.9, you could benefit from a financial coach. I also found that, and I'll say this for myself as well, we typically score ourselves a little higher than we actually think we're doing. So if you set a number, I'm going to ask again, and just don't put any walls up. Don't try to, this is in your own head. You're on your own computer. Like, no one's ever going to know this number. But just be honest with yourself. If it's a 5, if you got some good stuff and some bad stuff, then get yourself a 5. If it's bad, if you're taking debt collection calls because you're in that much trouble, and it's a 1. Okay? And if you're geared up, you're set to go, and maybe it is an 8 or 9. But don't try to hide it and have a fake number. Just say the real number to yourself. Question 2. Once they've said their number, what is holding you back? What is holding you back? And really think about that. Do I have high debt? Do I spend too much money? Do I not budget? Do I not even know what money's coming in, what money's going out? Whatever it is, just name it. Because once you name it, you can start to fix it. And then 3, the third question I ask is, do you want hope? And that's what I do as a financial coach. I inject hope. So whether you want to go from an 8 to a 10, a 5 to a 7, or a 1 to a 2, we need hope. That's what the world runs on, hope. And that's my favorite part of this job, is to inject hope into someone's situation when they say, I just can't do it. And I say, yes, you can. So don't forget that. What's your number? What's holding you back? And where do you want to go? And if that's somebody, if you're like, yeah, I could really benefit from that, contact me. You have my Facebook. Feel free to send me a message through there. Also on the group page, there's my phone number or email, whatever it takes. Get a hold of me, and I would love to walk through. So next week, next Wednesday, we're going to start talking about some actual financial situations. And the first one we're going to talk is the HELOC, or the HE family of loans / lines of credit. And I don't like them very much, and you're going to find out why next week. So thanks so much for tuning in, and I am almost at 15 minutes, so I definitely need to end this one. God bless everyone. Talk to you soon.